Welcome to the podcast of Terrace Consulting. Hello, and welcome to the new episode of the podcast. Here we have today pleasure having Nathan Foy, which is the founder of Fortis. He's going to tell us all about his company, the book he's written, it's out now, and details about the customers and how to behave, how we can get the most out of them. Nathan, how are you?
I'm great, Pablo. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be with you today.
Thanks. Thank you for your time and sharing some of your time with us. So as always, usually the podcast, the way we do the interviews, we're going to learn first about yourself. So I'd like you to tell us more about yourself, about your career, when Fortis started, and what's your daily routine, let's put it like that.
So Fortis is 21 years old as a company. We do the world's hardest to execute trips for the world's hardest to please clients. Typically that involves chauffeurs. It also involves security, and we have a secure communications platform that our clients use. So it might be picking somebody up off of a plane, providing sometimes executive protection, and then a network of apps that connects everyone to doing that. And the short history of Fortis is that we didn't begin doing this. Our original idea as a company was prepaid taxi cab cards for college students. And then that was up and down the East Coast of the US, major university cities, in the fall move-in season of 2001. And then 9/11 happened, and that changed our plans, and we started to sell these cards for transportation to companies. And that was right when private aviation started to take off. And they said, well, we need chauffeured cars to pick us up on the back end of our flights. So we started to do that instead. And that's pretty much been our core business for the last 20 years.
Okay. So the switch from students to corporate. Well, what a switch. And yeah, have you had in your career, those over 20 years of experience now, any mentor, anyone who helped you during your career, someone who inspired you maybe?
It's a good question. We have an award on our team called the Jim Town Award, and Jim Town was a mentor to me early on, especially in the company. He was an Army veteran, a businessman, very big into real estate, and he something about just he gave me really good advice, and he really cared when he didn't have to. Unfortunately, Jim passed away last month, but we had an annual dinner for many years where the award winner each year would be able to join previous award winners and have dinner with Jim. So he was definitely that mentor role.
Great to hear. He was so inspirational for you and for all the ones who got the award year after year. Now, for whoever is not part of the industry of drivers and ride industry, I mean, it's difficult to understand the intricacies of it. So what makes Fortis different than other industries? What is your added value that others don't have?
So the key of what we do is that we provide travelers with more than they can imagine. And one of the key things about the book I have coming out, What Rich Clients Want But Won't Tell You, is that it seems crazy, but a lot of rich clients, I think, particularly when it comes to travel, especially in ground transportation, their expectations are too low. So if you ask them what they want, they'll just tell you about the last bad thing that happened and say, don't do that. Don't show up 30 minutes late, or don't have a car that smells bad, or those kinds of things. So we had to learn to observe and iterate in order to provide them what they really wanted. And I would say what they really want is they want more momentum to accomplish more of what they want to do. And so the core of what Fortis provides is, we call it confident momentum, to move more confidently in the direction that you want to go without being tripped up by obstacles. And our chauffeurs are trained into doing that. And over time, we find our clients get more ROI from using Fortis, And even though our price point is probably about 15 to 20% higher than competitors, they see it as an investment because they can accomplish more.
Okay. Interesting. So now you said you have offices in South Carolina and Hong Kong, 21 years of experience in the company. So what is that day in the life of Nathan Foy?
Day in the life of Nathan Foy. So I'm founder and I'm CEO. You know, under the title of CEO, I have several main things that I focus on. So just to name a few, one of them is the culture of the company. So who are we hiring? Are we aligned with people? Are people taken care of? So just to give one example, we have a caring team that's kind of like our first responders. We view that we can't really give legendary service to our clients unless our team feels legendary service from the leadership team. So we have to model that and do that internally for that to translate out to the world. Another thing that I do is thought leadership. I am trying to show clients how much more is possible in travel, and that's one of the things that led me to write this book. So I don't know that I have a typical day to answer your question, because you know, sometimes we're hiring a person and we'll do a half-day interview. Sometimes I'm doing a book promotion, like you know, here with you. Sometimes we're having chauffeur conferences where we help to train chauffeurs into our standards. There's really no 2 days that are the same for me.
Which I guess makes the job much more interesting, right? Every day is different.
Yeah, it's never boring.
That's great. So going back to the book, you mentioned it. What rich clients want but won't tell you, which I guess is based on your experience, all those years of experience, yourself and your team, on how they behave and what the challenges daily with this type of case that you mentioned, they are the most challenging to provide service to. So what can you tell about the book without, you know, going into too much detail or telling the secrets of the customers?
Sure. So Fortis's clients are the richest of the rich. So you know, Forbes 400, usually worth at least $600 million, and they have big goals. These are guys who are playing offense. They travel a lot. They have big dreams. It might be for charity or for their business, but they're trying to accomplish really big things. So they look at people in 20 seconds or less as, are you going to help me achieve my goals, or are you going to be a hindrance to me achieving my goals? And they're experts at making that decision so that they only associate with people that are going to help them to play more offense and win more. And so over the last 20 years, what I did is I started to just categorize what are those different levels of service. And there's 5 different levels that build towards elite service that really commands the highest premium and the deepest loyalty. And I think whether you're in our industry serving very, very wealthy people, or whether you're not, if you have a restaurant that caters to anyone, the principles that are in there could be applicable to just about any business. So one example, like the second level is problem solving. And so it begins with viewing what you do as a craft rather than as a job. So, you know, if you own it and you hone it over time, you will see client problems as your own. And then through lots of time, you might start to have your own signature on how you solve problems on their behalf. And then it becomes more uniquely yours, something that you can be really proud of. And then one of the things that rich clients love is problem solvers, because they themselves are problem solvers. So there's an identification with you that, oh, this person sees my problem as his own. And they start to lean in more and they start to give more and more. And that takes you up another level to an even deeper relationship as you go. That's the sum of what the book is about.
Okay, so creating that trust between the customer and the team member for the duration of the service. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Okay, and you're saying those part of your customers, or some of them, are the richest of the rich. So usually these people are seen as very demanding. Is that right? Is there a pattern on those type of customers?
Yes, I think they are demanding because they have high standards and they have high standards for themselves. I think that the view that many people from the outside, even our chauffeurs, when they first start working with this clientele, the thing that a lot of people think is that it's random. It's just green M&Ms in the dressing room. Just they have these strange things that they want. I find that that's not true. I find that it's very, very intentional on what they want and why they want. I'll give you one example, but there's many clients that will give their team, their travel team, really exorbitant gifts like Rolexes at Christmas time. And people from the outside look at that and they say, well, this guy just throws money around. It's not that. It's just that this person has become so indispensable to the principal that he's giving him a Rolex. So he's saying, stay where you're at. I need you in order to do what I'm doing. So it's worth it for me to give you a $10,000 watch because I don't want you looking for another job as the new year comes, right? So it's very intentional. It's not throwing money around. It has a purpose. And I think if you have in mind, it helps you to serve them a lot better.
Okay, nice one. So they're demanding, but I mean, they know what they want, obviously. So a part of that physical reward, which could be a watch or Rolex, you mentioned, besides that, the material, what's the most rewarding of your job or your team's job?
I would say when there is a client, a lot of times I don't get the direct feedback from the principal. He's not going to fill out a survey unless it's just like 20 seconds and catch him at the perfect moment. But there's these moments where you have an opportunity to go really deep. So I'll give you an example. Usually, just like in any relationship, when someone is feeling emotionally volatile, there's an opportunity to serve them and to have a connection go deeper. And so we had a principal that was going to the World Cup in Russia in 2018 and had all of these different environments. He had his family. He was trying to impress clients. I don't think he'd ever been to Russia before. He was Chinese. And organizing all of that. And then we provided executive protection as well. And he was blown away by how good it was. And, we had that direct feedback because the executive protection agent was from our team. And doing that in Russia was a very, very hard to pull off country for a global event. It was one of those examples of just really feeling satisfied, job well done.
Nice example. Thanks. Now, looking at the overall hospitality business, we're coming out of the pandemic at different speeds depending on location, of course. But when it comes to customer approach, are there any key aspects that you think that change or evolving post-pandemic?
I think people are more and more so concerned about security, but a particular kind of security. So I would say discretion, information protection is more emphasized than before. And then I would also say just, frankly, the COVID protocols, there's the basics that everybody does, but we instituted a 3-day after ride symptom check for chauffeurs. So, just to say, hey, by the way, if you transported a principal 3 days ago, I just want to confirm you haven't been experiencing any symptoms. And that's been something our clients appreciated, is that extra kind of step that they get of confirmation that they don't need to go get tested.
Okay, that's a nice one. Now, is going back to the post-pandemic sort of situation we're living at the moment. Do you foresee the numbers of the business going back to pre-pandemic, like 2019 numbers? Are they already there? Will it take some time?
So yes, we're already there. In fact, July was above 2019 July. So we've seen that. The final piece that kind of came into place for us was international. So about 35-40% of our revenue is outside of the US, and piece was the slowest to come back, but it's almost completely back now. And so the rides themselves, the travel itself, it's more difficult because there's a lot of things that you used to be able to assume as standard operating procedure are different now. But in terms of people's desire to travel, I think it's a human need that people just want to see different places and see different people. And I think if that need's been pent up for a year or a half, I think people realize even more how valuable that is to them.
Yeah, it's a good point about the pent-up demand. We've seen that in a lot of lesser destinations. True. Now, I'd like to, towards the end of the interview now, get some information from you. You've been working for many years in the industry. Some advice to young people who might be considering going to the hospitality industry or in the transportation sector. What takes someone to be successful in the industry or in Fortis, for example? What sort of skill set would they need to succeed in the industry?
It's a great question. You know, I've spent a lot of time thinking about that question because we have our highest rated chauffeurs are 5 stars. We have a star system. And I started to look for commonalities between the 5 stars. You know, is there a same variable that they're all based on? And the thing that I've found in that is that people aren't born 5 stars. But I think before the age of 25, they found something that they delighted in providing service to people. So one of our 5-star chauffeurs grew up in Morocco, and family was very like the hospitable family in the neighborhood. Everybody was always over at their house. They were always feeding the neighbors. He had 6 or 7 brothers and sisters, and every kid had a role. And they would fresh bread every morning. They would brew their own coffee that was super, super strong. And the neighborhood congregated there. And as a young man, he learned to delight in providing hospitality. And there's another 5-star who he started as a doorman in the Ritz-Carlton. And he learned the whole philosophy of ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. And the thing I've found is that if you really, what I've seen is the common denominator. If somebody in their formative years delighted in giving service, then that can really be a great thing. But if somebody didn't, I'm not saying they can't do it, and you can always get better. But I haven't found them to become truly the most elite. The most elite kind of develop that passion early on.
Okay, so finding that passion to serve others.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a very nice one. That's all from my side, Nathan. Again, just can thank you very much for your time presenting your book, What Rich Clients Want, I Won't Tell You. Nathan Foy, founder and CEO of Fortis. Again, thanks for your time. Lots of success with the book. Thank you.
Thanks, Pablo.
That was all for now. Hope you found it useful. Remember that you have more information on our website, www.torresconsulting.co.uk, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and Twitter. Stay well. Goodbye for now.